Freddy Krueger. The shadows lengthen in the gloom of the night, and a sense of unease fills the air. In a quiet town of Springfield, where life goes on in an almost monotonous routine, there is a secret lurking in the darkness. The story of one man, a tormented figure, is intertwined with the terror he aroused. His name is Freddy Krueger, and his legacy has left an indelible mark on the memory of those who dare to remember. Freddy was once a human being, a man like any other, but his actions led him down a path of darkness. He was born into a hostile environment, where cruelty and abuse were commonplace. A past full of suffering and misfortune forged his character, leading him to become the jailer of his own nightmares. He worked as a guard in an asylum for the mentally ill, a place where suffering was a constant and violence manifested itself on a daily basis. Freddy found in the pain of others a kind of twisted pleasure, which turned him into an outcast, a monster made of anger and revenge, whose humanity was slowly fading. However, his true transformation occurred after his death. Justice never reached him in life. The parents of his victims, filled with pain and rage, decided to take justice into their own hands. In an act of revenge and desperation, they chained his body in an old building and set fire to it, believing that by doing so, they would put an end to his evil. But death was not the end for him. Freddy Krueger was reborn in the darkness, becoming a nightmarish entity, an avenging spirit who found refuge in the realm of dreams. From that moment on, his victims could not escape. On the darkest nights, as the young people of Springfield drifted off to sleep, Freddy slipped through their minds, invading their dreams with terrifying malice. He became the master of their nightmares, a being who reminded them of their deepest fears and insecurities. With each attack, it fed on their fear, relishing the power its control over them gave it. Dreams became a battlefield where reality and nightmare intertwined, and the teens fought for their lives in a world where the rules were different. Every night became a deadly lottery, where luck seemed to abandon them, and hope vanished in the midst of their fears. Stories of their encounters spread like wildfire. Sleepless nights became common, and shadows became the most feared enemy. The figure of Freddy, with his wide-brimmed hat and striped sweater, became an iconic image of terror. His razor-sharp claws were an extension of his own vengeance. Through his burnt eyes and mocking laughter, he delighted in the suffering of those who ventured into his domain. The laughter echoed in his nightmares, an echo of the despair he had sown in the hearts of teenagers. The fear was palpable, and despair gripped those who faced the uncertainty of their nights. Every encounter with Freddy Krueger was a fight for survival, a battle against an enemy that seemed invincible. The rules were simple: if you died in the dream, you died in reality. This revelation caused terror to take root in everyone's mind. The act of sleeping became a condemnation, and the refuge it offered became a death trap. The young people fought not only against Freddy, but also against the inevitable arrival of sleep. Every night became a battlefield where fear and resistance intertwined in a macabre dance. The teenagers united, forming a desperate resistance. The fight against Freddy was not only physical, but psychological. They realized that, in order to defeat him, they had to confront their own fears and traumas, to confront the shadows they had tried to hide. Thus, the confrontation became a journey through their own hearts and minds, where each of them had to face their inner demons. With each step, the sense of unity and camaraderie grew stronger. Late-night chats, shared laughter and promises not to give up became their armor against the darkness. But Freddy, ever cunning, moved with supernatural agility. With every attempt at resistance, he seemed to anticipate their movements, mocking their desperation. His laughter echoed through the corridors of darkness, a reminder that terror was never far away. The nightmares became more intense, and the line between dream and reality blurred. The anguish of his victims was reflected in their tired faces and eyes brimming with fear. Each encounter felt like a game of chess, where every move could be the last. As the battle intensified, the young men began to discover that their nightmares were not only their doom, but also their salvation. The struggle for life became a journey of self-discovery, where they learned to face their own pain and find strength in their vulnerability. Although the terror of Freddy Krueger lurked around every corner, hope also began to blossom. In their desperation, they began to strategize, creating dreams within dreams, pushing the boundaries of logic and reason. The final showdown was approaching, and the entire town seemed to be on the brink of the abyss. With every cry and every tear, Freddy's story intertwined with those of his victims, creating a web of suffering and resistance. In the end, the battle was not just between Freddy and his enemies, but between light and darkness, between fear and hope. Although Freddy Krueger had become a symbol of terror, he had also revealed the strength that resides in those who dare to face their fears. The youngsters learned that the power of unity and friendship could vanish even the darkest shadow. In the gloom of night, the legacy of Freddy Krueger continues, a tale of horror that lingers in the collective memory. But in every shadow, there is a glimmer of light, a reminder that while nightmares can be terrifying, there is always a chance of awakening. Although the figure of Freddy still lurks in the darkest corners of the mind, so does the will of those who dare to dream and fight. Despite his reign of terror, the story of Freddy Krueger is ultimately a reminder of the constant struggle between good and evil, between life and death, and how, even in the deepest darkness, there is always a glimmer of hope.